Hello, 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 Cal. Welcome to Milestone Mindset Live. It is so nice to have you here today. I'm Nancy Sargent, your host. I'm the CEO of Sargent Marketing, the host of Milestone Mindset Live. And Cal is with Sandler, and he is by no other definition than a sales expert who is sharing his expertise with his clients so that all the hard work that you're doing reaches more people. And we are here today to talk about sales. Sales also means fundraising. Anytime you are looking for someone to part with something of value for something that you offer or that you need. So I am so excited to be here because I'm going to learn from this as well. I was lamenting to Cal that I was having a boohoo morning because I couldn't put enough time on my calendar for the proper follow-up for the sales that I'm doing for the educational division of my company, Milestone Marketing. So without further ado, Cal, please extend the introduction of yourself by telling folks what you do and why you're here.
Sure, Nancy. First of all, thanks for inviting me. It's been a long time coming. I've always enjoyed speaking with you, and you've always got some good insights and challenged me with the whole sales versus marketing and what's that overlap. So that's a lot of fun. So as you well know, we are Sandler Training in Morristown. I'm the president. We are a sales, leadership, and customer service training organization. Most of the time, Nancy, my time is spent with generally pretty successful companies, but they want to take it to the next level, as most successful companies do. But they're a little frustrated that their sales teams, or maybe they as owners, like you and I, without big sales teams, aren't maybe getting in front of enough of the right people at the right level, often with the right frequency and the right message. Those who get help, as you've mentioned, do some of that pretty well, but then they get kind of worried about, I think we're going to talk about this later, is the sales cycle. It seems to be getting longer and longer, and they can't get people to make decisions. And if they get through that, which is a hard one because they get longer and longer, people are getting bait up on dollars and they're forced to negotiate at the end. And by the way, none of those things should be a problem, really, if we've got a good sales process and we manage our sales cycle. So that's a really brief version.
And we are here for our audiences who are watching live and in the replays to give you some high-level tips today that if you have to get on the phone or in person today after you watch this, you'll be able to do a better job and move yourself along that sales cycle better. And yes, it's getting longer and longer. So I always like to start with a definition of what we're chatting about. Sales it could be sales at Bloomingdale's. That's a fun one. But we're talking about sales, exchange of a product or service for some kind of monetary value. That could also be fundraising, exchange of the feeling of helping for donating. And we help people in both organizations. I believe both of us do. I know I do. Do you have fundraising nonprofits come through your doors sometimes?
Oh, absolutely. In fact, we do a not-for-profit scholarship once a year, as a matter of fact. And I think, as a matter of fact, it's still open. But we do have, and the good ones really recognize that it is not that they want to be salesy and sound like salespeople. And I'll tell you a short story about that a little later. But there are, I think we have 5 not-for-profits that we work with. And what they find is a sales process is very similar. I mean, it boils down to, I have to make contact, hopefully have a conversation with somebody, figure out what problems they have or interests they have, and then together decide whether we want to do something together or not. It's kind of simple. And I like how you brought out, and it's funny you use exchange of product or service for monetary value. I'm a little sarcastic sometimes, and people will often say, Nancy, Cal, who's your target market? Who do you work with? Anyone is specific? I said, yes, we're very specific. We only work with companies that exchange goods or services for monetary value. And the sharp ones get it quickly, and sometimes people are puzzled, but that's a great definition.
That's great. I love it. let's talk about the milestone mindset, the sales mindset. I'm a yoga teacher, not actively practicing right now, but
Yeah.
yeah, I'm actively trying to practice in my own life, but I'm not a practicing teacher at the moment. Um, so anyway, the sales mindset, really in any of these conversations, everything starts with mindset. And as I was saying this morning, I wasn't in a good one myself. And fortunately, we all have our guides and coaches
Right.
and that sort of thing. So thank goodness I had one this morning with mine, and we did identify something that I could do right now to snap out of it. And so let's talk about what is that sales mindset, Cal?
Yeah, I love that. And my little quick story is I come, well, it's now no longer a quarter of my career, it's more like a tenth, but I started in a corporate procurement job. So I was born with a natural distaste for salespeople, or at least the bad ones. And for me, and for what we teach, and my own mindset and what we train is, not everybody's our prospect. Not everybody is somebody that we should or want to be doing business, nor do they want to do it with us, which is fine. We have a saying that the four SWs: some will, some won't, so what, and someone else is waiting. Meaning, if somebody isn't qualified, if we disqualify them from being a good prospect or potential client, which is a good thing, by the way, then there's somebody else out there that is. And wouldn't we rather spend our time talking to those who are able and willing than those that we have to try and convince? Because people buy for their reasons, not ours. And if we're that salesy person trying to convince them, we might get lucky and think that works, but it really doesn't work.
I love that. I'm going to put a banner up on that. 4 SWs, some will,
Some will,
some
some won't.
won't.
So what?
So what? I'm exclamationing that.
And someone's waiting. Someone else is waiting that really wants to talk to us.
Someone is waiting.
And there's another one that a client threw in, another SW, and she called it self-worth, because we need to have equal stature with the people we're selling to. They're no better, worse, or otherwise. In fact, they really need us, and they're kind of darn lucky to get our time in the sales thing. So our belief is sales is a respectable profession, and we need to treat it that way in the sales world.
Okay. Whoops. I'm going to edit that a second. I want to stay on this for a minute. Okay. Let's put it back up here. We're in the mindset conversation. And if we stay on the mindset the whole time, it'll be valuable, but we won't. Some will, some won't. So what? And someone is waiting, plus your self-worth. Let's flip that for a minute. It's your self-worth, and I hope if you're selling, which really we're all selling every day, we're selling an idea, asking someone to do something with their time that we want them to do, right. All sorts of ways. It has to start with your self-worth, and your mindset has to start with your self-worth. And when things get busy and in the sales process, you don't have time for the follow-up, or sometimes it's a little pattern. And one day you're feeling, yay, all up. And then the next day someone has to reschedule. Something else happens. Something in your personal life falls through. And all of a sudden it's all, bad, which it's not.
It's not.
So that self-worth, you can comment a little more on that if you would as well. What do you share with your clients about that?
I'm glad you mentioned it. It's actually one of my favorite topics, and it's something we call IR, IR theory, which is identity versus role. And in front of a group, we'll say, list all the roles you play every day: student, teacher, trainer, salesperson, parent, spouse, sibling, and rate yourself every day on a scale of 1 to 10. There's a couple, I don't know about you, Nancy, but the couple of times I've been a 2 as a spouse or as a parent.
Oh, never.
Never. That's just me. No one else does.
Just you.
Or in a sales job. But what I can't allow to happen is that affects my own identity, my own self-worth, my reputation with myself. I mean, stuff happens. We make mistakes. I'm supposed to be this great professional who does this flawlessly, I make mistakes every day. And we all do.
We
So
all
we
do.
have to accept that. And the key to take it one step further to building a strong identity, strong self-worth is very simply having written goals, having plans to go with those goals, and taking the actions regardless of how I feel. We talked earlier about attitude, behavior, and technique. Well, my belief is it's the behaviors, the things that I do, whether I want to or not. I don't want to go to the gym tonight. Really, I don't. But I really want my pants to fit. So if I continue to go to the gym and I do the other diet, food, proper things, whether I want to or not, I'll be thrilled when I hit my goal. So it's about goal setting. That's one of the things, or a bunch of things. That's one, I think, of the biggest things that helps us with our self-worth and our identity.
And that goes along with saying, don't ever let your actions be dictated by how you feel.
Yes.
Or the weather. But that said, here's what came to my mind when you were saying that. Consistency. You can go to the gym at once a month and eat well 5 days out of the month. You still will not fit in more pants. So the goal is to feel good in your clothing, and the actions go there. Let's talk about, I do like to have everyone get some just technical definitions. You and I were talking before the show about the sales process and the sales cycle. I think we probably should flip it and talk about the sales cycle first, but you can choose which order.
Yeah, I think sales cycle is good. And then we can talk about how if you have a proper sales process, it actually shortens your sales cycle. And everybody wants to get things done faster, right?
Yes.
Sales cycle, my definition is the time it takes from hello or introduction or hot incoming sales qualified lead to number one, there are two choices here. We have closed the deal, or we have disqualified and amicably parted ways because it doesn't make sense, or we choose not to do business with them, or they, for whatever reason, are not willing or able to do business with us, which again is fine. I'm happy to get no's. That's okay. So it's that time from when we start to when we end. And my belief is the process you use, and if you use a good process, that will shorten that sales cycle, either to get the no or to sign it and get working together.
You know, it's funny with the marketing for folks, whether I'm educating and training them or doing it for them, I always say in your database, let the unsubscribes go, let them go. That's the same as saying no's are okay. But it's funny, in my own sales, I don't like no's. That's so much more personal than the database contact going away, but it's really not. And that's also when you're an entrepreneur and you're giving of yourself also, and you know they'll benefit from it. But that's good. No's are okay.
No's are good. And Nancy, it goes back to your point earlier on mindset, right? A no is fine. And that's having an abundance mindset versus a scarcity mindset. I believe there are something, we happen to live in Morris County, New Jersey, for those of you from far, far away.
Me too.
But there are something like 24,000 businesses in Morris County alone. And we only need a few of them to have a pretty robust business. So having an abundance mentality really makes a big difference. That, you know, I came to a realization, it was about a year and a half ago, Nancy, that I now enjoy 100% of my clients. I was at about 85% about a year and a half ago. One kind of dried up and went away, and I had a little celebration. And the other one, I just had to say, you know, I think what you're wanting to accomplish and what we do just aren't compatible anymore. It was a little big revenue hit, but it kind of didn't matter. And we replaced him with 3 other people. It was just an energy drain, and it didn't make sense.
Yes. Sometimes it takes it takes a lot of mindfulness to realize that, and sometimes be the one to say, I don't think this is a good fit.
Right.
In a kind way, of course.
Of course.
And
we call that nurturingly, right?
Nurturingly. So I wrote up here, I made another slide, abundance mindset.
Yeah.
It is something I try to practice every day. I have more than I need. And I was speaking to one of my clients the other day, we were having a personal conversation, and I said, do you ever wonder, we always define what we want next. Sometimes a goal could be to say, what is enough, right?
Mm-hmm.
That's a whole nother topic, but we are so blessed and fortunate to be where we are in the center of all the best healthcare and restaurants and culture and nature and the beaches. We have so much here in New Jersey, and people should come. We should be the travel agents for that. But so let's just go back to the sales process and cycle a little bit. Can you give the definition of the key parts of the cycle?
I think that might go back to process. For me, sales cycle is a measurement of time.
Okay.
I like to have it short. Some people measure it on number of calls, like a one call close. And some are like that. Smaller engagements might be one meeting based on a nice introduction, and we agree on dollars, we agree on services or scope or product, and we're done. Sometimes it's a 3 or 4 or 5 call close. Don't know. But I want to know what it ought to be, what my average is, and I want to track that. So that's a good point on sales cycle you brought up, I think, is this dragging on too long? If it is, I did something wrong in my sales process. I either did or said something that I shouldn't have done, or I didn't do or say something that I should have done. There are no bad prospects, only bad salespeople. Sometimes I'm one of them. But
and that could be the qualification stage of letting them out sooner.
Correct.
So that we have control over.
Exactly. And that's a perfect, it's almost like we practice this, which we didn't, but I'm glad you put it in control. My belief, and again, what we train and what Sandler is all about, is taking and maintaining control of the sales process. So something I say all the time, Nancy, you may have heard me say it before, I have a definition and a belief. My definition is of somebody, anybody in a sales role, is our job is to help somebody make a decision, period. Our job is to help people make a decision. That's my definition. My belief is, since it is our expertise, we will control the sales process, but since it is their money, time, and effort, they can decide yes or no. And we're going to have to help them a little bit, help them understand and convince themselves. We joke about, I ask the question all the time, whose job is it to overcome stalls and objections? And everybody says, oh, it's the salesperson. In fact, it is not. It is the prospects, it's the buying party. It's their stalls and objections, not ours. So how do we ask enough questions in our process early on so they deal with all this garbage that they've got? Sorry, I shouldn't say garbage. And sometimes they don't even know. Price objections, timing objections, for all of these things, they need to wrestle with those up front before we get too far along in the sales process.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. I always talk to clients about, we must know our personas, who are our ideal targets as well, and not just what their job function is. Many times I've seen that a certain type of individual gravitates to certain jobs, but within that, there are different personas and their responsibilities outside the job and their life stage and different things influence the mindset they come with. And that is the front end of generating the right leads to come in. So I'm going to date myself and tell a story that my first job out of college was at Ogilvy and Mather Advertising, where I was on the Huggies brand, and it was great fun. And then I went to work for Encyclopedia Britannica after the FTC regulated them. And right, you laugh. And first of all, I should have sold those books instead of been a marketer, even though I won trips to Paris, Tiffany Pearl earrings, all these marketing contests for bringing in quality leads. The sales reps made the most, and the young sales reps, they were this college couple, they made so much money. But anyway, my point is the FTC had come in, straightened everything out, and everyone went through strict sales training, including the marketing people. And I say to this day, it is one of the best experiences I ever had to be in the shoes of the salesperson and understanding, so I could bring them the right leads. Now let's also paint a visual here. Remember the filing cabinets? Everyone had lots of paper, remember like the black big ones? Well, the top is where the good leads went. The second drawer was pretty good. Third drawer, the newbies got. Fourth drawer, no one ever got. If I was getting those down there too many, I was out. So I'm so grateful for that experience. And I still have that collector's item of those 1980 something books, and they're actually worth a lot of money, although I just want them off my shelf now. So why don't we talk about sales and AI?
Sure.
Anywhere you want to go with it. It's a wide open conversation.
So much, and that goes right back into sales process. I'm gonna take a half a shuffle back into sales process, because our job as sales professionals is to gather information, which seems counterintuitive and is for, I think, the majority of salespeople. Makes me think of the movie Glengarry Glen Ross. If you haven't seen it, don't watch it. I can't even watch it. I get ill. But typically, traditional salespeople, they believe their job is to tell everybody about everything is wonderful. We've been in business for 90 years. We have this. We have the lowest rates. We do this, and we have personal care and the best customer service. That's what everybody else says, and who's going to believe you? And that also raises the hackles or raises the defenses of our prospect. And then they get a little interest. And then what do? They send a proposal. Oh, I think I got one. They were interested. I'm sending them a proposal. Well, my belief, that's kind of backwards. And we can use AI tools to gather some of that information, certainly even up front in the marketing stage. So my belief, to your point earlier, Nancy, is we need to understand the persona. Where am I going to be inserted into this prospect's company? Number one. First and foremost, I better know. There aren't a lot of absolute truths in sales. That's not true. There are a number of them, but one certainly is to start at the top. I got 50 stories that I won't tell you now about how starting in the top gets you to the right place versus where people tend to be comfortable meeting their peers and getting introduced up. That extends the sales cycle. It's ridiculous. One of the AI tools that we can use, Zoom Info, I don't know that is real AI, but it's a great assistant, and there is some AI that interfaces or connects with that, along with a good CRM. In a good CRM, you can map your process. And from a marketing perspective, I'm sure you do this, we can set up cadences and sequences based on who clicks and what they click on. I was looking at, dare I admit it, boat parts about a week ago. And sure enough, I got an email and it pops up on Google, and somebody in there has got an algorithm that thinks they know all about me, and they're not wrong. But it's sending those things. I got a list today with one of my assistants, and we went through and scrubbed a list that came out and said top leads for the week of October, whatever it is. And that's the list she's going to start on based on behaviors that they did.
Right. And then your CRM, you set up marketing automation for contacts that give you an email address, which is value, right? If someone's giving you an email address and other data about themselves, they are closer along to the process. And what I talk about with our clients is you want the person that you're physically going to speak to, either on the phone or in person, to be far enough along in the process that they already have a strong likelihood of making a decision to say yes. A lot of that pre-qualification can happen beforehand by the content that they consume. And we take people through the stage of becoming aware of what they need or what they're interested in, and then considering the opportunities or the solutions and who's providing them, and then making micro decisions to consume more content, to share an email address, to go through the life stage of a marketing qualified lead to then become sales. Yeah. And so it is just all about really understanding sales. And even if someone is buying online, there's still sales going on. We're talking about direct sales here, but there's similar processes.
Yeah.
Go ahead.
I love that. And I love great, warm inbound marketing leads. My struggle with that is some of the sales teams I work with, only for a little while usually, where either they change or we're done. But isn't definition of a salesperson also to generate some of that? I'll tell you, an enormous, probably a disproportionate amount of my business has come from personal contact and networking. I like it. I think I have a little bit of a skill with it. I teach it, and I'm an extrovert. In DISC, I'm a pretty high I, so I enjoy that part. Now, what we talk about is something internally called a cookbook, which are the behaviors, right? Attitude, behavior, and technique, the behaviors that we need to do. We need to take the inbound leads and make the call. By the way, that is a cold call. I don't care what anybody tells you. An inbound lead, it's still a cold call, and let's treat it that way and have the guts to pick up the phone. But I don't need to, as a salesperson, wait for that. I may see somebody on LinkedIn and I want to go comment on their victory, their win, on their whatever they did. I may connect with them. I'll pick up the phone, give them a call, see if it makes sense to have a further phone call. And maybe it will, maybe it won't. Some will, some won't. So what? That's okay. But I think we need to. There's the human piece. AI is great, and there's some great applications. It also can shorten the sales cycle. If I go to ChatGPT and I type in, according to the owner of a company between 10 and $20 million, what are the biggest challenges they find in finding new customers in New Jersey? And you can do all of these different things. And we have a great prompt document if that's something you want to share with your audience. But by doing that, we put more in the top of the funnel, as they say in sales and marketing. So we're going to get more out. If we're just hanging out waiting for marketing leads, which are important as the mix, then, what do you just need a phone caller at that point? I don't know. I struggle with people who just wait on the marketing inbound leads while they are important, Nancy.
Yeah, no, I think there are certain jobs in larger companies that might be working those leads, but overall for the whole company, I can't imagine anyone could survive on only that. And the other part is, before you get on a call, you mentioned LinkedIn. You certainly should check out their LinkedIn. You should check out their website. You should see their competitors. I have some other software that I use. And guess what? Yeah, you go on ChatGPT and you ask a question and you get that. You have to decide how much time you're going to spend. And that has something to do with what is the value that someone will be deciding to impart and give you. But it is so important. I'm actually meeting with someone today, and on her LinkedIn, she said, in first grade, I got in trouble for talking to my friends. And now I, do something that has to do with being a talker and a presenter. And I wrote her, I'm like, I got in trouble in kindergarten for talking to my friends. And now I basically talk for a living. So, but that was just a line on LinkedIn that didn't have anything to do with her job. And we're meeting today. So there's so much to talk about in this topic, Cal, and I would love you to come back. I like to ask people this. What is one of your milestone moments that, let's keep it to careers, that brought you to today? Anything you want to talk about? What's one of your milestone moments?
I had a corporate life for a little while. I said I was in procurement, not a great affinity towards salespeople, but there was one guy, Chris. He and I are friends to this day. And he didn't know Sandler. He didn't know any of this stuff, but he just was an intuitive guy. He has been working with a company that I left, his company, for almost 35 years, which is unheard of. But he did a great job of bonding and building rapport. I use him as an example probably every week. But he is probably the quintessential role model of how to be a good relationship building salesperson and having a good sales process and nurturing and growing. And I think that's been good. And my attraction to Sandler was the fact that I really don't like, nobody does, likes the pushy salespeople. And, I think we spoke earlier about some will, some won't, so what? You've got two options. We can say we'll agree to work together or we'll agree not to. Either one is fine. And that's very disarming, I think, to our prospects and our existing clients. I mean, I've got clients that I've had for 8, 10, 12 years in some cases.
Well, I think the takeaway summary that I'd like to mention today is that the sales mindset and an abundance mindset in general for life, understanding that the client or the prospect will make the decision, and it's our job to help them make a decision.
Great.
And sales conjures up a lot of images, and you mentioned Glenn Ross, right? And all that. But it's really what you said. It's a nurturing relationship, and you have to enjoy people to be in sales. And you want to find the shortest sales cycle you can for their sake and yours. And aligning marketing and sales or fundraisers is critical. And as you said, though, there is no one crutch. It's not all marketing's job and it's not all sales' job, but it is the job of the two of them to chat and to share information, because that is the only way it works. And that's why I had a great experience at Britannica. I wouldn't trade it for the world.
I love that comment you made, because that happens very frequently. So I train a lot of different sales teams, a lot of individuals, and even some of the smaller companies, their marketing people internally will attend the sales training in a lot of cases with the sales team, and that just makes all the difference in the world, because it's like, I'm giving them all these leads and they're not turning into $10 million. And now they go, oh, I get it. And then the salespeople understand, I understand what you're doing. Can we tweak that and put a little pain in your communication? Can we massage the message a little bit? So I have, when I do the talk about sales and marketing, they're concentric circles that overlap. And if sales and marketing aren't talking to each other, people are wasting a whole lot of money on one or the other, or both.
Right. Which leads to frustration and unsatisfied people that go home at the end of the day defeated, and that's a downward spiral. So I hope that those who are getting information here have picked up a tweak or two that you can do in your process, whether you're a marketer or a salesperson or an executive director of a nonprofit or a small to mid-sized business. It's also important for you as the leader of the company to realize that marketing is an investment. Salespeople are an investment, but it's so that you can grow your business and help more people, which you're there to serve. Yeah. Cal, thank you so much. Will you join me again another time?
I would be happy to. I always enjoy talking with you, Nancy.
Same. And love the banner you have behind you. And I'm going to sign us out here, and we'll chat for a moment afterwards. And to everyone who is watching today, we wish you an abundant mindset and much success.